Hello friends, welcome to my new course. This is relating to the Oracle internals. This is topic which is very important, and this is internal to Oracle, and this is very important to understand as well. So hope you guys will be enjoying this course. It took me a lot of time to actually create this course, and that is the reason I'm recording this video after 3 to 4 days. Okay, so let's get started. This is one of my favorite topics, that is Oracle Cache Fusion, and this is very amazing technology. This is how the rack buffer as well as the interconnect mechanism actually works. So let's see how it does. Okay, so the topic is global resource management. We need to understand the moving parts, what goes inside, and what are the internal pieces into the Oracle Cache Fusion as we know it by the tagline, okay, or by the name. These are called the Oracle tool, that is global resource management. There are different processes, different inner workings actually goes on under the hood. So let's see what all things are there. Okay, so what will be the objective? So the objective will be needing to define what is the global concurrency control. Okay, concurrency being if let's say multiple users, as we know, that access the rack instances in this multi-layered environment, or you can call it's not like multi-layered environment, but it's like different instances are serving the specific database or one database. Okay, an application is connecting and multiple users are connecting to those instances. Okay, one user shouldn't block the other user while updating. Those things are called concurrency control. Actually, the important point in this is you do not want to corrupt the data whatever is being modified on the instance. Okay, because eventually it has to be persisted into the data files. So all the blocks should be perfectly fine, or you can call it in the proper state so that it can be persisted. Otherwise the database will be corrupted, or the files will be corrupted. Okay, or the view to the application itself will be kind of improper, right? The what is the other piece we'll be discussing is global resource directory. This is a very important, you can call, is a important piece to the global concurrency control. Okay, global resource directory. Okay, and how global resources are managed, because why we are talking about globally is in the single instance environment you would have seen that uh, okay, there are multiple users connecting to the single instance, but that is not a problem because Oracle will use its concurrency control to block the users accordingly, right? If one user is writing, the other user cannot update that particular block itself until the first user has finished writing, right? It is not a problem, right? There are not multiple version of the block residing in the instance, in the single instance environment. But when you see the rack environment, there are chances where where the same version or the same particular object will be modified or is being modified on the multiple instances, which can corrupt, right? Which can corrupt the block itself or the object. So we'll see how the global resources are managed. Rack global resources and access coordination, how and why and by what means everything works as it is, right? And how it's defined underneath it. Okay, what is global NQ and lock management? In the single instance environment there is NQ and lock control in Oracle, but in the rack environment there is a global NQ and lock management, okay, that needed to be implemented by Oracle to make sure that if there are multiple nodes, the concurrency control and the acid property, right, has to be proper in the database, right? Otherwise there will be issues, right? So let's move forward. Global buffer cache management is very important. In buffer cache management in single instance is completely different from the global cache management. Okay, so why do we need the global concurrency control? If that question arises in your mind, right, and you already know about rack technology, right? Rack is has been created or been made or brought in by Oracle just to make sure that there is high availability and failover implementation or failover technology for the clients connecting to the database itself. In the single instance there will be one instance running, and if one day that instance fails, and the users will not be able to connect the single instance environment, right? That's the reason rack has been defined, where there are multiple nodes running so that one instance fails. Instance being memory structure and background process only. Okay, it's just a pathway to connect to the database. So if one instance fails, users can still connect to the other nodes, right? And finally eventually connect to the database itself and do the fetch as well as modify or select or whatever they want to do. So what is the need for global concurrency control? Oracle requires concurrency. The word itself gives a big meaning to it. Okay, concurrency means making sure the objects are intact. Okay, it's not corrupted. So we need to make sure that objects are used, right, or by multiple system, but shouldn't corrupt, right, or shouldn't block each other. So Oracle requires concurrency control. Why control? Because this is a multi-user system, because there are multiple nodes, as we all know. In the single instance, Oracle provides the concurrency control that we know using the locks, right, latches and mutexes. Now latches and mutexes protect the internal structure of the memory. Okay, the internal structure being the linked list. Okay, when you zoom into the RAM, right, or let's say memory, right? When we talk about the instance consists of memory structure and background process. The memory itself, when you zoom in, the inner working of memory structure is completely written in the code, which is called linked list. You guys must have read about linked list or must have studied in your university. Okay, so latches and mutexes, right, because multiple processes wants to connect or access latches and mutexes. Okay, sorry, the objects. Okay, so latches and mutexes are the way where Oracle has created this to protect the memory structure. Okay, for the concurrency control. And queues has been created for the resource control, resource being whatever, right? So tables, blocks, if you can call it, blocks contains multiple rows. Okay, so enqueues protects that. The buffer cache pins protects for the cache management. Okay, in the rack environment, resources may be accessed by or modified by session running on any database. Therefore it requires, okay, so you understood by that this is a single instance environment, right? And there is a complexity to rack environment, and that complexity comes in when their resources will be accessed and modified by multiple sessions, and that creates a huge issue, right? And as I repeatedly said, that you do not want to corrupt the data. Their data is the most important asset we are protecting here. Okay, so what all things, when you talk about global structure and when you talk about rack architecture and not single instance, what has been defined? Now Oracle has defined global lock control library for the rack environment. Okay, global NQ control. Okay, that's how they are controlling it. And cache fusion, okay, for buffer cache access. We will see cache fusion in depth. Okay, so let's move on. Okay, so you see uh, a picture here which is defining or which is giving you kind of a bird's eye view of how the processes of the global resource directory, okay, as well as the global resource management works. This particular picture is giving you the details on two node cluster, okay. So you see node 1 and node 2, okay. We will say this is node 1, this is node 2. Node n means there can be multiple nodes, okay. So this we will say this is a node 2, okay. There is an interconnect. Now there are different processes, okay, on every instances, just as the database writer or redo log buffer or those things, right? So archiver and those things, right? Different processes runs on every instances. Same thing as that, there are different process for global resources, okay. So this like, and the global, for the global NQ there is LMD. For the global cache services there is LMS. There are these are the multiple processes LCK and DIAG, okay. This is These are the huge terms when we talk about the global resource management, okay. So this is global resource directory, GCS, global cache services, and global NQ services, okay. these are these are kind of, you see that it's an intersection between the two nodes, so it runs using the interconnect, okay. So these are available on both the nodes and use the interconnect to send and receive the buffers, okay, and protect those buffers as well as object on every node. That's how the concurrency control works. We will see everything in depth. So let's define what is global resource directory, okay. So if we talk about object, okay, object being table of views or indexes. So or any object under global current concurrency control, if it is being protected, is called a resource, okay. So resource is this, okay, any object under global concurrency control. And resource metadata, okay, that particular metadata, okay, for that specific object is held in global resource directory, okay. Now this particular metadata is distributed into every instance, so that every instance knows, right, what is being changed or being modified on or for that particular object, right. There are chances where one user is modifying the table 1, row 1, okay. Chances are same person on other team wants to modify the same thing, right. So every instances must know about it, and that's the reason GRD is distributed among all the instance for each database. That's the reason this is intersection to both the instances, okay. Now each managed GRD resource, okay, so every managed GRD resource has a master data structure, okay. So let's see, this is a box. Let's say this is a box. Under it there is a resource, okay. It has a master data structure, okay. Global GRD resource has a master data structure and a shadow metadata structure. Master data structure defines all the details in regards to metadata for that specific object, and shadow just define the overall picture, okay. We will see what is the difference between the master and the shadow. And because because these services reside on the RAM itself, okay, on SGA, okay, so it uses the memory from the shared pool, okay. Now what is global resource management? Let's see that. So let's say any user is accessing a specific block, okay, and wants to access specific table, okay, and now that specific table does not exist on the RAM, okay, on the memory, okay. database buffer cache, you can call it. Okay, so what will happen? Oracle will go and fetch the block from the database files, okay, and put that particular block on the database buffer cache. Okay, that's how it works. Okay, so as soon as that particular object has been accessed, right, a globally managed entity by an instance, a global resource is allocated. As soon as that block is held on to the instance, okay, put into the instance, okay, and somebody is trying to modify it, that particular resource will be identified as global resource. Now internal algorithm will decide. Okay, so there will be an internal algorithm defined by Oracle, okay, which will decide who will be the resource master for this particular block. Okay, so that particular master being the instance will take care of that block. Okay, taking care of block means that when in a situation where the node 2 needs that same block which is requested by the other user, okay, then that particular node and its processes will actually communicate to the instance number 1 and the block number 1 where the resource reside, and push that using the interconnect, and that they do not have to, or the Oracle do not have to go and fetch the block from the data files, right? So subsequent access to an entity from other instance for which resource master metadata exists causes resource shadow metadata to be allocated in the requesting instance and updates to be done into the master data. So that's what I said. It will be pulled from here because this is master. It has to be known. Okay, it will be pulled here. It means pulled means the block will be copied from one node to another node and then modified. Okay, and there will be different version of the block. You will see in the complete picture or diagram how everything works, right? Okay, so that will be called a shadow metadata structure. Okay, now everybody is using global resource, right? Global resource management, right? Everybody is using GID, GCS, and all the facilities or all the technologies of this global rack, right? But what will happen in case where specific node fails? What will happen? So as soon as the specific node fails, there will be mastering and remastering will go on. So what happened here is, for row number 3 and row number 4, instance 2 was master. Okay, and node 1 has row 1 and row 2 and row 5 and row 6, node 3. Okay, as you can see in the picture, as soon as this goes, node 2 goes, the remastering and mastering happens again, and these rows will be assigned its master. Okay, because there has to be a master. Okay, so let's see. When one or more but not all instances fail, the failing instance resource masters are lost, as we know here, right? For row 3 and row 4 there is no master, right? Any resource master that had a shadow in a surviving instance must be recovered. So as I already said in the previous video, that when the block is copied from here to there, okay, there are two reasons to it. First reason is that other user is requesting to fetch the data or modify the data first, and the second reason being that there will be a multi version for the same block. Okay, and in case of one node fails, there will be a shadow structure available, and in case of failure we can recover using that particular shadow file. So that is what the particular term is, or particular line is defining. So any resource master that has a shadow in a surviving instance must be recovered. So either this or this will be used to recover. Okay, and rebuild the resource master metadata, because you don't want to lose it, because the thing is that the master instance has the information for those specific rows, right, or specific blocks. Global locks and enqueue metadata are done first. So first of all, using when doing the mastering and remastering, Oracle internal code first go through the global locks in the shadow file, okay, in the shadow file, and enqueue metadata to know who owns these and what are the details of this specific object, okay, understand that, and then recover those global locks and enqueues, okay, are done first. Then the rebuilding result in each surviving instance, mastering some of the recovered resource metadata, and then eventually other things are done, okay. So the rebuilding result in the each surviving instance, mastering some of the recovered resource master metadata, okay. So that's how it's done. So the three nodes, there is 3-node rack environment. Every node has specific object which it is master on, okay. As soon as that node 2 fails, now these two rows do not have any master, so there will be mastering and remastering using the internal code will go on, okay. And the first thing will be to rebuild the master, okay, for those specific rows. And for that, first stuff Oracle will do is, or the Oracle internal code will do, is to check for the global lock and enqueue metadata, okay, recover that, and then rebuild the other stuff, okay. So let's see about the different background processes, because we know that the Oracle database instances, right, in the rack environment as well, different nodes, right, it consists of memory structure and background processes, right. Background processes are very important. Memory structure is just to store the buffer or the blocks onto the specific area that will be called a RAM in the physical world, or memory in a virtual world, whatever you want to call it. But the processes are the things which is used to actually fetch or pull the data or modify the internal structure, right. So we need to learn about what all background processes are there which works under the hood, right. Okay, so in the diagram we see that there are two instances, and there is GES, global enqueue services, and global cache services. And for global enqueue services there are two processes, LMON and LMD0, and for the global cache services there is LMS, LCK, and DIAG, okay, and there is interconnect. So let's see the different background processes and how they are useful for this particular global resource management, okay. So ACMS, we do not see that particular process, but it's there, it's very important process. So in the rack environment, the ACMS per instance, because it is there in every instance, okay. Process is an agent that contributes to ensuring that the distributed SGA memory update is either globally committed on the success or globally aborted. So ACMS actually takes care of if any specific blocks, right, is committed properly, then it actually eventually do not call the dirty buffer, okay, as we know that anything modified, okay, on the buffer is called a dirty buffer. But when the data record is committed, okay, and then the checkpoint occurs either automatically or using the force command or using the alter checkpoint, those buffers are stored, right, into the data files. But during the global resource background process and during the global resource management, ACMS has been defined to actually make sure that those blocks are committed properly, and if those ones are success, okay, need to make sure that those ones are either successful, or need to make sure that if there are failures, then it will take care of it, okay. LMON. So what LMON does is, LMON process monitors global enqueue and recovery resources across the cluster and perform global enqueue recovery operations. As we already know that if there, as we already know about the process which is called undo and redo, right? So undo and redo process are the same thing, where let's say the instance crashes, and these global resource management processes actually takes care of everything, mastering and remastering, okay. But in the important aspect, if you talk about why the undo and redo has been defined, and those particular files has been defined, okay, what is the reason for that? Because for one reason is, if the particular buffer, right, if that particular buffer, while during the crash, right, as let's say at 10 o'clock the crash occurred, right, at that moment, if specific buffers are not committed, okay, those one will be dirty buffers. Oracle has an inner working, inner codes, okay. It will make sure that those dirty buffers are rolled back using the undo. And if for any chance, if any buffers are already committed, but as we know, committing the record does not mean that those buffers are persisted into the data files. Those ones will be available in the redo log files, right? So those one will be rolled forward, because those records are committed, those needs to be there, right, to the data files. So Almon actually takes care of that for the global enqueue, for the specific object. Global enqueue is for the specific object, that can be tables, okay, or view, or whatever it is. LMD LMD process is very important in, if you compare them to everything, okay. So when you compare to ACMS, Almon, LMD is one of the most important processes. It's mentioned here as well. So what it does is, LMD process manages incoming remote request within each instance. So what does that mean is, for the enqueue services, let's say when if any other requester request for specific block or for the specific object, LMD is the process which will listen. It's like a listener, right? But it's not actually listener, but it will wait for the incoming request from, so let's say something is, so LMD is running on this instance and this instance as well. For any situation when node 2 is requesting node 1 for the specific block 1, right, then LMD process will actually learn about that node 2 is requesting for the block 1, okay, and it will reply to it accordingly. So that's what the LMD property, or you can call the working is, okay. LMS. The LMS process maintains the record of the data file statuses and each cached block by recording information in GID. So LMS is the process which is directly connected, or you can call it a very important process, because it takes care of storing all the records, okay, for all the information, including the metadata, a master metadata structure and shadow metadata structure in the GID, okay. So it maintains that. LMS. What does LCK does? LCK process manages non-cache fusion resources such as library and row caches. So not everything moves using the interconnect, right? Not everything is exchanged between the interconnect. Blocks are the important thing which are moved, right? Why, when node 2 is requesting block 1, if it is not available on node 2, and it is available on node 1, Oracle knows that it do not have to go to block and fetch the particular row, right? Because it's a memory and a resource intensive operation, it do not want to do that. So what it does is, using the interconnect, it actually requests using the LMD, right? As we talked about LMD, it requests LMD and LMD pushes that block, okay. Now, so LCK manages usually the non-cache fusion resources. So those resources which are not moving between one node to another node, okay. So let's define what is global enqueue, okay. As you can see, global enqueue services. So how global enqueue works is a global enqueue request is made by a session. Okay, any user is requesting any specific object to specific node. Okay, it's connected, right, using the scan or VIP, whatever it is, right, it's connected to a specific node. So a global enqueue request is made by a specific session. Now the request is passed to the LMD0. Okay, so now node n, right, or node 2 wants a specific blocks. Now it understood that that specific block resides on node 1, so it requests LMD for that information to fetch it, right, in the requesting instance. Okay, the foreground waits for the request on the event, it waits, right. Now the LMD determines the mastering instance. That's what I said. LMD now determines who is the owner of the block 1. Now node 1 is the owner and the resource master, right, and which resides on node 1, so it is the resource master. If it resides on the same instance, okay, then it automatically fetches it, advertises it, okay, and then it is eventually given to the user, right, who is connected using that session. But if that particular node and LMD determines that that specific block is not available on node 2, then it has to fetch it from the node 1. Okay, so LMD forwards the request to the mastering instance if required. So that's what I said. Okay, the mastering instance add the new master resource if required. So if it is not doing anything with that particular block, okay, it is not modifying anything, there can be situation where the internal algorithm may provide change this particular block as a different master, which can be node 2 as well. Okay, so it can add a new master resource if required. Okay, if that particular node wants to modify, or the session wants to modify, okay, then it will give that particular block, okay, give it to that and change it. Okay, change the master to the node 2. When the resource is available, the foreground is posted by LMD0 to the requesting instance. When the resource is available, now it knows about it, it will provide that to the session, whoever is connected to it. Now global cache management. Okay, so global cache services, we learned about GIDs. Okay, we learned about GES and Q services. We learned about all the processes and some more processes which are not defined in this picture. Now we will learn about global cache services. So global cache management provides a concurrency mechanism for multiple buffer caches. Okay, so as we already know about what is concurrency. Okay, so multiple same block is requested by multiple buffers or multiple nodes, right. It provides the concurrency mechanism. And one more important thing is, in Oracle concurrency control, in Oracle locking mechanism, writers will never block readers. Okay, so if one particular session is trying to modify or is modifying a specific block, the other session, okay, requesting that same block and wants to read that block will not be blocked. This is not same as in SQL Server, but this is what Oracle does. This is what Oracle concurrency control is. Okay, and optimization of block access for the read. Okay, and optimization of writes for the dirty buffers. Okay, as we discussed in the I think 2 slides back, how dirty buffers are written to the data files and how it's recovered and those things. Okay, those things are performed by global cache management and mechanism to optimize parallel queries, right. So single block is being read by multiple instances by the multiple users. It needs to make sure that concurrency mechanism is in place so that the data the blocks are not corrupted. Okay, the code itself is not corrupted. What are the different components in the global cache management? We learned about overview, right. Let's learn about components. So there is LMS process. We know about LMS process. Okay, buffers, there are different components, right? So for the cache management there is LMS process as we see it here. Okay, buffers, buffer headers. Okay, because buffers are stored here, cache management is actually taking one buffer or serving any specific session one buffer, okay, or specific resource, and passing down using the interconnect from one node to another node, right? Global cache master. Okay, every resource will have a resource master. These information will be stored in the global resource directory, as we all know, and the shadow resource will be also be stored in the global resource directory. Okay, important points. Okay, multiple LMS process may be used by Oracle RAC depending on the workload load size. So when we see that LMS X, if there is heavy load to specific instance or multiple instances, then there will be a multiple processes spawned. Okay, so there will be LMS 1 2 3, how many is required accordingly to rack. Okay, on the workload size. There are buffer headers for each buffer in buffer cache. Okay, buffer headers define the property of that buffer, including the location of the rows, right, and into the buffers. Okay, the size and the space remaining in that specific buffer. Okay, there are multiple block, there may be multiple block images for the same database block in the same or different buffer caches. So the chances are that, because if particular user is requesting, right, a block which is being modified, right, here on the node 1, and other user comes into the node 2 and wants to access that particular block, okay, same block, and wants to read it, what will happen? There will Oracle, what it will do is it will copy the block, okay, to the node 2, okay, and the user can read it and use it. Will be done using the interconnect. So there will be multiple versions. This is currently being updated, and this one being the other version. Okay, and there will be different SCN to each and every block. Okay, that's what this particular statement is saying. The mastering instance for the specific database block will have master metadata in GID maintained by LMS. Okay, and describing all block images, specifying the instance and the state of each image. Okay, GID will have all the details of it. Okay, who is the master of specific block, okay, and who is the shadow, who is the so shadow means, if I want to clarify that thing, is shadow means that this, if we specifically talk about the node 1 and talk about the block 1, block 1 is mastered by node 1. Okay, that's fine. If there is node 2, there is block 2 as well, right? Node 1 will have information for that block 2, but chances are that node 1 is not master of the block 2, but the node 2 is the master of block 2. So that chances can happen. And how it happens is, while node 2 having that particular block 2 and somebody is modifying that, and now the session 2 is requesting the same block 2, right, from the node 1, right? So what will happen is, there will be a copy for the block from the node 2 to the node 1, and now there will be metadata structure for the block 2 here in the node 1. Okay, we will see everything in the diagram. Okay, and then we will get to know and will have more clearer image of everything, whatever goes on underneath. Okay, so there are different cache buffer states. Okay, during the copy, right, during the request and the copy from one node to another, there will be different cache buffer states. If you want to query that in SQL Plus, then we can use this particular dynamic performance view $bh.status, okay, to get the buffer states. Important buffer states are shared current, okay, exclusive current xcur, okay, then consistent read cr, and the passed image pi. Let's define that, okay, these scur, xcur, cr, pi. What is shared current? The buffer containing a block image. So buffer means the RAM, okay, the database buffer cache. The buffer contains a block image that matches the one on the disk. One or more instances may have images for the same block in scur state. After an instance has one in the state, cache fusion is used if another instance reads the same block for the read purpose. That's what I said, that if one specific block is available here, okay, and currently somebody is reading it, right? So what it wants to say is that if, for instance, user 1 is requesting block 1, right, or table 1, but the thing is that block is copied, right, not table. So table is actually, block consists of tables, multiple tables, okay. So to clarify, block consists of multiple rows, okay. Now the user 1 is requesting table 1 and row 1. So the block which has that information will initially be copied from the database, okay, data files, and will be copied to the buffer, the database buffer cache here, right, on the node 1, and block is sitting here, and user has been selecting the tables accordingly, okay. Now the thing is that when the same block is requested by user 2, so let's say there is a user 2 coming in, now they are requesting same table, same rows, right, from the same block from the other session, from the node 2, what will happen? Oracle will not go again to the data files and fetch the block and again put it on the RAM. No, it is a very resource intensive operation. So what it will do, it will use the lmd0 and find out who is the master of that block. It will go and fetch that block and copy that. So it will copy using the interconnect, and it will copy it to the node 2, okay, and now the user has been served, okay. So there will be multiple versions. So this will be shared current and this will be shared current. So both of them are same versions and having same SCN number, system change number, whatever is defined in the data files, right? So let's say data file version of the specific block is 10, then it will be 10 here, 10 here, okay. So everything is same. So shared current. What is exclusive current? Exclusive current is when any user is trying to modify a specific block. That block will be named, or you can call it stamped as, okay, xcur or exclusive current. There will be only one exclusive current in the complete cluster. There will not be multiple exclusive current. In scur, shared current, there was multiple versions of the same block, right, with same system change number, okay, in the multiple nodes. But exclusive current will be only be one, that will be the latest version of that block, okay. Hope you guys are understanding what I'm saying. Consistent read. Consistent read is the buffer contains a block image that is consistent with an earlier point in time. So consistent read is older version of the block, okay. So let's say there was a block 1, right, with system change number 10, okay. User 2 comes in, it requests to modify that specific row in the specific block 1. So the block 1 will be copied from first node to the second node, okay. And now because that user 2 wants to modify that block, so that block becomes exclusive current, and this will become older and it will be consistent read, okay. because it's a past image. Okay, so it's a older block. Okay, it's not current. You cannot call it current. Okay, that's how the blocks are stamped, and how this is how the system change number works. Now the system change number becomes 11. The system change number here is system change number 10. Okay, so during recovery, Oracle will find out which one is the exclusive current, which one is the latest block, which has all the changes. Okay, and that is how it recovers, undo and does the redo. Okay, past image. So the past image, the buffer contains a block image that was xcur. Okay, so let's say in the past, maybe specific block like this, it used to be xcur, right? On the node 1 block 1, it used to be exclusive current, but then shipped to the another instance using the cache fusion, right? Now it has been sent to the interconnect. Okay, and to the node 2, because the user 2 wants to modify the same block. A later image of this block now exists in the another buffer cache. Okay, the latest image. Okay, the later image with the system change number 11, as we talked about, this is the latest block with the modification, right? Once the database writer writes the later image to the disk from the other instance, the PI image becomes a CR image. So this is the older image. So we can call consistent read as consistent read as synonymous to the past image. There's this slight difference. What slight difference is, until and unless the database writer has not written that particular block to the disk, that particular block was PI, that is past image. But as soon as this particular buffer has been written to the data file, okay, that becomes CR image, the consistent read. Okay, let's move on. You guys can again read this particular slide and then understand if there is a slight confusion. If there is still a confusion, then we can go through the image as well and then clarify our doubts. Okay, and you guys can actually reach out to me on my channel and ask me questions about it. Okay, so there are different cache management scenarios for a single block read. So let's see what all different scenario can occur for the single block read. So read from the disk. What does that mean? Occurs when IO request occurs for a block that has no image in any buffer cache. So when user is requesting for a specific block is not available on the database buffer cache, so it has to go and fetch the block, okay, from the data files and put that onto the database buffer cache. That is called read from the disk. Read and read. Okay, so occurs when a block image exists in at least one buffer cache in a shared current, okay, and another instance wishes to access the block for read. Now this block is here, okay, already available because some other user has requested it and it is available. It's not moved out of the buffer cache. Okay, so in future when other requester comes or any other user comes, like user 2, and he is connected to the node 2 and requests the same block, right, what happens is LMD0 finds that particular block and use the interconnect, and the block is moved and copied from the first node to the second node. Okay, so that is read. During this situation the blocks are getting copied, right? It's not moving, it's copying. So block will exist here as well, a block will exist here as well. Okay, so there will be multiple copies of the block. Read write. The situation being some other requester is requesting that block to modify, and that particular block will not be scur, that will be xcur, that will be exclusive, right, current, that will be the latest block, exclusive current. It will not remain the shared current, because last time we saw that I actually told you that when the block is being copied just to read the block from the other node, then it will be in shared current. But when the user is requesting the block from the other node just to modify, then it will, that specific block will become shared exclusive current, okay, the latest, and it will have the latest SCN as well. Write is also a similar thing, where the block is copied from one node to another node, and the block is being modified here, and other requester comes in and wants to modify either same row or the other row into the same block. Then the block is copied from here and here to in the other node. But the thing is that this will be a block because same block is being modified by other nodes, right? So as until this particular user has not completed to commit the record, the other user cannot access it or cannot modify it. Write read. So occurs when a block image exists in one buffer cache in exclusive current and other instance wishes to access block for read. So that's what I said. Oracle actually allows you to read the block which is being modified by other users. It's not same as in SQL Server, where it will block the users when the block is being modified and it will block the readers. In Oracle it's allowed. When the block is being modified, you can read the block. Write to disk occurs when database writer a dirty buffer to disk. If the block was modified in multiple instances, only the latest image will be used, okay? So that's what I said during the recovery operation, or during the database, during the checkpoint operation as well. The latest image will be found out because there is multiple instances, multiple version of the block. So Oracle needs to find out the latest version of the block. That block will be found out using the stamp that will be exclusive current on written on that particular block. That particular block will say that this is exclusive current. It means that that is the latest block that will be either recovered, undo or redo, okay, and returned to the data files. So hopefully you guys understood the global resource management. If not, let's see how it works, okay, in the next video.